You're listening to Pop This, the podcast where two women talk about everything pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen and Andrea Warner.
So I never bring the surprising thing, but I just thought today, let's just change it up a tiny bit.
Okay.
So Grandma has been having weekly sleepovers at my place ever since she went back to my sister's, just in case people wanted an update on how Grandma's doing. She's fine.
Yeah, always.
Yeah. And we're still slogging through Heart to Heart, and we're now in
Oh my God.
nearing the end of season 3. And Jonathan is still showing so much chest hair every time he's wearing a button-up kind of shirt of any kind. Like, as many buttons as you can leave down, he has down. And, I am so familiar with the hair pattern growth on his chest and, just, the swatches of manliness. Anyway, I was trying on this dress that I mail ordered the other day, and it had a button up from the midsection. And so I tried it on over another dress, and I came out wearing it, and Grandma was like, "All right, Jonathan Hart, showing off all your mid-hair chest." and she really does turn to me every time, now that I've pointed this out to her so long ago, that, so now she watches for, chest hair. A lot of her viewing habits have really changed. We've noted that, the Hearts, basically every episode lose someone who is near and dear to them, allegedly, and they never mourn the person. This is a truly pathological, and I understand, they're rich white people, so this kind of actually is, 30 years ahead of its time. But also, literally, if you are friends with these people, you are automatically in danger of dying.
It's like watching British murder mysteries, like Midsummer Murders I watch, and 3 people die every episode. It's a small town.
It's a small town.
Why are you not moving?
Yes.
There is a problem. There's an epidemic. I don't care how good Barnaby is. He still manages every week to lose 3 people in his community.
Yes. And yet it's a great show, and I'll watch it all the time.
Yeah, of course, we all will, because we're normal. But it's just that I think it's the tone that Heart to Heart has, which is it's obviously not the same as a British murder mystery.
No, it's much more playful, and the playful, and the couple super wants to have sex with each other all the time. So they could literally be making out over a dead body.
I am curious though about Stephanie Power's hair in it. It is a very is it a wig, do you think?
I do not think so, because I have seen them run their hands through it a lot. And
it's like a third character. Are you not? Right?
Of course. I'm totally. I love that. And I have such a soft spot for Stephanie Powers, and I love that hair because it's so 80s. It's so, feathered and sort of. I will say also, my mom doesn't have exactly that hair, but she still has pretty big hair that is achieved through a blow dryer every single morning.
Oh.
And so I think it's so fascinating to me to just watch this sort of big hair generation carry forward in such interesting ways. Because I don't know that many people that do a big blow up every day of their hair.
I just want to say that I didn't read the article, but I saw the headline go by saying perms are back.
Oh yeah, I saw that perms are back, and not a tight curly perm. I believe Jen Suk-Fung Lee tweeted it earlier today that it's more of the Japanese style perm, which is a bigger, looser curl.
Uh-huh. I've had many a Japanese perm.
Oh yeah. Tell us everything.
I love it. It's great. It's it does your hair in nice waves.
And how long does it last?
It lasts as long as a regular perm, a few months.
Wow.
How have I never seen a picture of you with curly hair?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's pretty subtle. It's supposed to be just a subtle wave, and so you may not have noticed. But have
you had one since we've known each other?
Oh yeah, totally. I've had probably in the last 5 years, I've had 2 or 3.
I think I can remember you having a bit more kind of a texture-y
Yeah,
blunt thing.
it just adds body to your hair.
Textury, but not curls, really.
No.
No, the
okay.
Japanese style, it does not add curls.
Not
at
like
all.
a
It's just-
Barbara
it's just a
Streisand
wave.
Star is Born look. I don't think
Yeah.
anyone ever went in to get a perm and said, this deal here. Like,
I have seen some tight perms when people come out of the salon, and I just always am. I'm kind of flummoxed. I'm just like, you are literally, like, I don't know how your head can support that level of tension in the curl. Like, it's wild.
But
Well,
so,
yeah.
what was your mom's hair like in the 80s?
So my mom has basically had the same haircut since 1987. She used to have, when I was born in 1979, she had very long hair. And she kept that until, I think, 1985, she had a haircut. And then it went a little tiny bit shorter. And it was a little bit feathery then. But then in like 87 or so, she went full short, kind of like an Anne Murray, kind of like, Anne Murray meets Elvis, kind of like blow dry pompadour kind of thing. And she still has that to this day.
Amazing.
Wow,
I've seen
okay.
it. She looks great.
yeah, she does.
I mean, it
I've
works
seen
for her.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
one time, in the way that like daughters do, like decided that like she needed a makeover. And so I took her for like a full makeup job and a full like hair reinvention. And she was not pleased. She indulged me, and I thought that was very kind. But it didn't stick.
Uh-huh.
Does she allow you to cut her hair?
I don't cut her hair, no.
Because I know you do your grandma.
I only cut grandma's hair, sometimes my niece's, but I don't, it's too much pressure. Everyone, I've cried so many times after getting haircuts. I don't want to be the person that gets cried at.
Ooh.
Yeah, but in
boy.
these quarantine times, like my sister, even like my mom broke down and let my sister trim her hair because it was just like she couldn't go to their hairdresser for like 4 months.
Yes,
and she
yes.
still doesn't want to go actually. So she thought the idea of my sister doing it was better than having to go to the salon.
I enjoyed a couple of years ago when Jimmy Fallon had a bit where he'd come to the studio and he'd pick one guy to get a perm.
I have never seen that.
And
Yeah,
then
me
throughout the episode, you'd see him getting the curlers put in and the stuff. And then
And the guy was cool with it? Or like this was like a weird forced thing that happened to the audience member?
I guess that you have a chance to say no if that's really something you don't want to do.
Uh-huh.
But they agreed to it. So I would imagine they're just those kind of guys, right? That wearing the Jimmy Fallon perm for a couple of months will be fine.
Well, I guess if they wash it within like the Legally Blonde, if you wash it within 12 hours, you kind of lose it? No?
I don't think so. I mean, it's just, it was a weird effect what it did to them. It was very peculiar. It really does change your whole face, like the whole thing, right? I mean, everything. Anyway, I'm sure you can find them on YouTube if anyone
Yeah, I'm
needs
sure I
to
can. Yeah.
see men getting perms. And that doesn't segue well into anything.
It doesn't, but the hair is great in this movie.
Yes.
Like
good
honestly,
hair,
I love all the hair in this movie.
Well, and Kumail Nanjiani has an amazing head of hair.
It is
Amazing head of
luscious.
hair,
It is
luxuriant
luscious.
beard.
Yes.
Issa looks
Yeah.
great. I'm really thrilled. This is Pop This. I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I'm Andrea Gin.
And we're talking about the Lovebirds.
The Lovebirds.
I sang
Is that
it like Love Boat. I'm sorry.
No, I did too. The Lovebirds. I know. Okay, before we get to this, did I miss a part of the movie where that title is explained? I
Just
thought
at
I
the
watched
very
it.
end, the ambulance driver says to them, "All right, Lovebirds."
Right. Okay.
That's it.
All right.
That's
it,
literally
okay.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not like birds are not a major focus throughout this film, so that was a little bit confusing.
And neither is love.
Neither is love, which I actually really
Good
love.
points.
I mean, I love the sort of I love the sort of like fake out. Like you think it's going to be sort of like a rom-com action movie, and it's really kind of it's like, it is a rom-com action movie, but it's like also very not a rom-com because, you know, if you haven't watched this movie, maybe now's the time to like stop, go to Netflix, watch it. It only came out a couple of months ago. But we're going to spoil it. And because we start off the film with, we see them fall in love, and then 5 minutes later, it's a flash forward 5 years, and they're really like not in a good place together.
They're bickering.
They're fighting. They're mean.
It's actually so hilarious, though.
It's so funny though. It was mean and funny. I thought that like Camille's character was meaner than Issa's character, because his commentary was all about how shallow and stuff, and like sort of really like negating her interests, and hers were more about like, well, we'll get to it.
As a fan of, as people know here, The Amazing Race.
Yeah,
I never missed a season.
Yeah,
I was a little upset there. A little upset.
Well, why don't we explain the connection of The Amazing Race to this movie?
Okay, fine. Well, and also probably the background and everything. Okay. I'll read the background.
Okay.
The Lovebirds is a 2020 American romantic comedy film directed by Michael Showalter, who also did The Big Sick, from a screenplay by Aaron Abrams and Brendan Gall, and a story by Abrams, Gall, and Martin Garrow. The film stars Issa Rae and Kumail Nanjiani, as well as Paul Sparks, Anna Camp, and Kyle Bornheimer, sorry, and follows a couple who goes on the run after witnessing a murder. Originally, it was supposed to be a theatrical release, but the film was delayed due to COVID and closing theaters worldwide. So its rights were then sold to Netflix, and the film came out May 22nd, 2020.
Yes. Should I read the plot summary then?
Go for it.
On the brink of breaking up, I would argue they had broken up since that comes up. But anyway, on the brink of breaking up, a couple gets unintentionally embroiled in a bizarre murder mystery. As they get closer to clearing their names and solving the case, they need to figure out how they and their relationship can survive the night. That's right. It actually is just one night. I forgot kind of that. But
I love those movies that are just one night or
Yeah.
one day or whatever. Like, I love a condensed time period. It really makes me happy.
A lot of reviews refer to the movie Date Night with Tina Fey and
Steve Carell.
Steve Carell. Did either of you see that movie?
I did, and I also saw the other one too that made me think of it was the Game Night. Yeah. Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams. Yeah.
I liked Game Night. I don't think I saw Date Night.
I saw Date Night. It was okay.
Yeah.
It got it's a bit depressing. I don't know. Like, I'm not so sure I'm so like this idea that we want to watch a couple just who kind of loathe each other have dinner and try and see if they can pick up some sparks. And it's a lot. And then I don't know, the assumption being that, but if only we could solve a major crime, we might then feel better. I
think what I liked about this movie, which I will say off the top, I really loved this, in a way that I was not expecting. I did not have high hopes for it, and maybe it's okay if I'm completely alone and loving it. I'm okay. You guys bring.
I didn't hate it. I felt like it picked up in the last half to quarter. Then it really took off for me, and there were some really funny jokes and little asides and stuff. It's funny you should bring up Heart to Heart, because that's like one of those kind of, we're about to die, but we still got a quip ready, you know? So in that way, I thought the quips and the scenarios got a little bit better as the film progressed. It was almost as if they were like working up to it.
Yeah, like it needed to be more outlandish all the time.
Yes.
And like it could have started at a higher tension and gotten even like more ridiculous.
Yeah.
I actually thought the opposite. Like, I thought it started off super strong, and then it just like became really more convoluted as it went along, and I stopped trying to follow the caper a little bit because it was so ridiculous. And
it wasn't really
it felt like the movie wasn't gonna, like, it just felt like there was a bunch of false endings to the movie, and yeah, it went on a little too long for me.
Oh, okay. I actually thought it was kind of a perfectly. It's only 90 minutes.
Yeah, I felt it was the right length.
I liked that length.
Yeah, I do too.
I also, what I liked so much about how it starts is that we do see how they're a little bit cute. You know, it doesn't necessarily get us super invested in their relationship, but we can see that, like, Gibran and Leilani are these, like, smart, funny people who are a little bit sort of, they never quite trust themselves with each other. And then we see, like, how that results in this sort of, like, constant fighting 5 years later, you know? Like, even from the beginning, neither of them are quite upfront with each other. And just about even, like, really basic things, like just whether they want to kiss or something. And I think if you start out with that kind of, like, lack of transparency, even if it's couched in flirting, your relationship is kind of doomed, right? In my mind, from the very beginning. And so it doesn't surprise me that, like, 5 years later, we are seeing them, like, their big argument is about whether or not they could do the Amazing Race and whether they could, like, win the Amazing Race, which is a conversation I have had with numerous people.
Oh yeah, I would be hopeless. I've already no way.
Like, I won't weird stuff. I wouldn't shave my head.
I would eat weird stuff and probably shave my head, but I am not good in the crunch. So if it got to that desperate place, I would become a very unattractive human being. The words I would find, I would not be that person that's like, that's okay, honey, we'll get another ox. You know, that would not be me.
I feel like I just like the ways that in which I would be so constipated because of my, like, trouble with, like, pooping publicly. I would not.
It's only over 3 weeks though.
I would be a ruined person. I would basically be hospitalized with, like, a colon impact. Like, it would just be, terrible.
Wow.
I feel like I'm just not competitive enough. I've only seen a few seasons of it, and I don't like being in this place where, like, you're so competitive and you the worst of your personality comes out, and you know, like, I just really would want to avoid that at all costs.
I would most definitely be, why can't you read a map? It is so goddamn easy. Do you want to drive? Because I don't need to drive. If you could just that's exactly, I know. And then it would be me doing a lot of, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I mean, I
God, I know you were doing your best. I can't, honestly.
Yeah,
it's weird to eat bugs, and I'm so sorry. That was mean of me. Of course you would retch and have to start over. That happens, you know,
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think, I'm super competitive, but I also oftentimes don't care. And so the combination of those two things, I don't think would bring out my best personality. Plus, I get deeply hangry. And when I'm hangry, I'm mean. And I would forget that the cameras were on me within 15 minutes. And I just don't know that I don't think I could be my best self on The Amazing Race.
Yeah, I would never.
No,
I would never make it. No.
Plus, just all that running around in, like, yoga wear and like those jackets, those Gore-Tex jackets and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I just, it's not a good look. There's got to be somebody else that can. But I get it. You've got that small little bag you're carrying around for 3 weeks, right? And I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's exactly it. Have you ever been on a trip where you're trying to travel light and you're trying to be comfortable at the same time? You end up not looking that stylish.
No, I know, and that doesn't seem like traveling to me. But yeah, I'm not saying I'm not competitive. I mean, but not enough to want to go on that show.
Yeah, I always try to tell Carlos that he has to go with one of our best friends, Michael, and that the two of them could do it. Like, they would have a good time. I would not.
But what do you think makes Michael a better partner for Carlos?
He'll eat anything.
Situation.
He'll eat anything. He loves to travel, does not have a shy colon or bladder. He he gets snitty sometimes, but like it's very rare. And I don't think that he would like, and I think him and Carlos they've traveled together before, like all of us together, and they could handle it.
Yeah. Well, as it turns out, so can our couple in the Lovebirds.
I mean, yeah, back to the movie. Fine.
Although, let me just say that, and The Amazing Race has never decided to throw in a secret orgy, which, might be kind of interesting.
I loved the secret orgy. I felt like a lot of portions of this movie were actually secretly just for me. And I don't want to reveal too much about myself.
Your favorite movie is Eyes Wide Shut. Everybody knows that.
No, yeah, reveal more of yourself. Come on, let's hear it.
I have not held back on this podcast. But I really like the voyeurs. I really love the sort of like all of the concerns that Gibran had about like sort of the Google Cal and like the sort of like coordination of the orgy and like the timing of it all. Like that all is like something that really speaks to me. But just like the excitement of sort of like, just like the kink of voyeurism, I'm like watching an orgy, I would be into that. I would not shy away from like I wouldn't want to necessarily be invited to your orgy, but like if you wanted to like sell tickets in like, just like a fundraiser, and everyone was a consenting adult.
This is a turn I was not expecting.
Yeah.
At all.
But that's why I really...
You seem very bold about this.
You might be getting some emails after this podcast.
Do you need the mask or do you care?
The masks creep me out so much, but the people that had a full face cover mask, I was like, wow, they were COVID ready. Like this seems like a safe way to have, a safer way to have group sex with people in COVID times is definitely everyone mask up.
Well, everyone looked rather elegant. It looked like a nice place. I bet the food was good.
And I love a theater setting.
Right? The theater setting was quite dramatic. But yeah, okay. So I don't even know where to go after.
It's fine.
That.
No, but so sorry. I'm going to go back to like the beginning and one of the things that I found so interesting about like and compelling about the way that they were fighting is that it felt very real to me, which is like Gibran is in this like one place where he's doing like documentary filmmaking and Leilani is in advertising, and there really can't be two farther sort of like careers.
Yeah, that doesn't feel compatible.
It's not super compatible, but I thought that they both had like again, I didn't like Gibran's sort of like the way that he sort of was like negating her interests. I felt like he was coming at it from a much more superficial place, and she was coming at it from a place that was like, just like show me your work and like make me a part of your life and like, that kind of stuff. And so I thought that was like very interesting. And then as we get into like the murder, and they have to go on this sort of caper, how they sort of resolve things together, like it gives us a lot of information about this couple in a way that I don't see happen in a lot of other like films. And so I actually at the end, if they had broken up, I would have been very supportive of that as well. Like these people, like
no, that's not a rom-com. God,
yeah, I know.
We've learned our lesson with When Harry Met Sally. But even if they were going to break them up, that's awful. Like there's no point. I'm not going through that. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Can I say sometimes, and I know this is not like rom-com-ish, but like sometimes I think one of the greatest things that you can see about a romance is that it was there and it served you well and it made you both better people, but it just doesn't work for you to be together.
There's a worse sentence I've ever heard in my life.
I'm sorry. I do believe...
You don't even believe that. You do not.
I do believe that sometimes people do need to break up, and I do think that like people... Like, I just don't...
You can say that because it's not you doing the breaking up. That's awful. Don't ever say that to anybody.
Understand. I agree. And I understand that I am saying this from a privileged standpoint of being quite happily married. But I do think that, like, we would be a better world if we were able to sort of, like, admit that some things are dead and over and don't need to be dragged on, resuscitated over and over and over again. That you can just, like, be like, okay... This was great for what it was, but we are not compatible. because I don't think that these two really actually are compatible. I like where it ends up. It's fine. But I would have been okay if they had not stayed together at the end.
So what do you see happening to them after the movie is over?
I feel like what we see is them arguing on Amazing Race, and they're probably gonna break up because he's gonna try and like shove her down a long water slide like that one guy did to that girl like a number of seasons
quit
ago.
then. No, they went home.
He tried to shove her down a water slide though.
Yeah.
You remember that, right? Like
Yeah, but that was not great.
You see how people like sometimes just don't belong together. And I think that they break up.
When when she's with her friend says, "You guys are so great together. We all think you guys are the best couple together." That's what her friend said.
I think like part of that though is that people don't know what's going on between two people a lot.
I don't think this sounds very romantic, and
I'm
think
sorry.
we should take all of that back because that is not a rom-com. You know what that's called? A really awful drama that nobody wants to watch.
But
that's what that movie is. That's a whole other movie.
But I'm
about
okay with realistic
coming to terms with your. No, this is called a rom-com. It's gonna be funny, and there's gonna be some rom, and that's all this was supposed to do.
Okay.
Whatever happened in between, the point of this whole movie is that two people will be in love at the end, or else I'm not watching.
I mean, what I'm going to say is that I agree with Lisa when it comes to rom-com movies. It would be slightly disappointing to see your protagonists not at least have some kind of amicable relationship at the end. But in real life, I agree with Andrea Warner that it's fine if things don't work out.
Okay.
Lisa, don't quit the podcast in the middle of it.
No, I'm not. I'm just like, I just find that's like, okay, we watched My Best Friend's Wedding.
Yeah.
But that was literally about a woman who wanted to break up a couple who were happy.
Yeah.
So that's a totally different thing. But I
oh
think
man, this is all leading back to Love Actually, isn't it?
And how
We're gonna
miserable
get there.
everybody is
We're
in
like
that
2
movie.
degrees away from that.
No, it's okay.
No, I
it's
wasn't
okay.
even going to go there. I was just going to say that I wasn't thinking anything. Like, honestly, I think you guys have way too much rational thinking invested in this movie.
I think it's because I love it though.
Yeah, but I think this was meant to just be a rom-com. So there's rom and com together, two rom and com. And I also think that this is supposed to be a movie about two people that lost their way and forgot how they really love each other, even despite their differences.
That's a nice reading of it. I agree that is what they gave us. And I think that they showed us I think they did show us a nice resolution as to how they did remember that they cared about each other and that they were finally synced up again at the end when, they got it sort of figured out that he knew he had to duck so she could shoot the bad guy.
Right. It was like there were beautiful moments and things, and people just, they drift apart, but they can come back together. And if we're not going to operate on that whole thing,
and I think the callbacks were really good too because like they do sort of like seeing that orgy led them to have and they kept having a conversation about like what is freaky sex and what isn't freaky sex, and like she had a different sexual appetite than he did, but I think he just like would get a little bit tucked inside himself sometimes, and so hopefully they had that freaky ambulance sex. Like we see these callbacks throughout the film that I think are actually really successful and build a continuity so that we invest in their relationships, like when they when he's so touched to hear that she talks about him at her job because he thinks that he's never been good enough for her and never been cool enough for her and that she has so much more to offer than he does. And I think that that's like a really reasonable reading because Leilani seems pretty great, like she's got her stuff together and she's got a lot of stuff figured out in ways that like Gibran doesn't yet. But I think we see these kinds of moments carry throughout the film. And I think it's like a much smarter script than a lot of reviews give it credit for, because I think it's actually doing the work of sort of like keeping these characters and their backstories fully invested in the jokes and in the sort of like, I don't know, just the real fabric of the script.
There were the parts that I really laughed at was, and I always think this is a good device in rom-coms, is when the couple has to be in on something that nobody else understands. And that's
Yes.
one of my favorite devices. So when they were standing in those odd outfits that they couldn't explain, the unicorn and the shimmery things.
Yeah.
And when, oh my God, I'm still laughing at this. It made me laugh so hard. But when Leilani says to her friend, I've got these dick pics. I was wondering if you could save them for me. And she's like, you had them printed? like on paper?
Oh my God. And it was so funny. Like
It was. And she's like, and you put senator on the envelope? Yes. Yes. All of that. I did all of that.
No, that was perfect. Oh my God, it was so funny. And I honestly,
my stomach was hurting.
I mean, I know it's like, you know, it's in the world of the movie. It's maybe not cool as like a casual thing to say here, but honestly, the fact that she only referred to that college guy as date rapist, it made me laugh so hard. The way that they come for people and like the worst stereotypes of bad people, like, oh, those cops were just regular racists.
I know, I thought about that too.
It was so great to have like those particular perspectives, even when they're in the after they've witnessed the murder and Leilani is going through like what's gonna happen to a brown man in a police station with a beard who's like, yeah, I didn't murder this guy. And she's like going through all the ways that the cops are going to be like, you definitely murdered this man and you're a terrorist. And like, what's going to happen to her as a Black woman? Like, I just really loved that the perspective of these two is never, it's always, everything is through the lens of their vision and what their situation in the world is.
Yeah, no, exactly. And also just, there was something else that was making me, the whole get the phone fixed and they had to pretend that he couldn't remember his doctor because he'd hit his head. Also the joke stealing.
With Cat Williams.
Stealing. Yeah, I felt like it was from the other movie, The Big Sick, because he played a stand-up comic.
Yeah.
And now he's a documentary filmmaker, so why is it bugging him? Also, I would like almost always give a really good movie review to any movie that includes a Katy Perry fireworks sing-along in the back of a cab.
Okay, so that's my favorite Katy Perry song in the whole world.
Yes, because you're normal. Yes.
And
I cry. Every time it plays, I cry.
I'm not the biggest Katy Perry fan, but that song gets me every single time. And to like watch them have their sing along, I love a good like sing along moment. I love like in the oh my God, what is it? Is it The Last Night? Is that what that movie's called? The Night Before. It's that Christmas movie that I actually really love with Seth Rogen and Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh yes,
and Anthony. Anyway, I love that movie, and I watch it every Christmas now. And it also happens in one evening, but they have like a great sort of scene to, oh my God, Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball. And, she's in the film. I don't require that the singer be in the film. I really loved this fireworks sing along. And I love to see Kamel's character, Jabran, like let go finally. And she knows exactly. But I mean, it can be a lot to have to be the person that's always cajoling the other person to like sort of like chill out. But I think that also speaks to sort of what, at the end when they're having that big fight and she's like, I feel really alone in this relationship. And that really stuns him into action. And I thought that's just like great carry through.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I love how this movie, it has a Black woman and a brown guy as the two romantic leads in the movie. And it's not, they sort of don't make a big deal of it and them being a couple. And it's not like, I know what you're saying, Andrea, about like how it's their perspective and their point of view, but that's so woven so cleverly and neatly into the plot. And it's not like in our faces, like, look at this interracial couple who are,
No, people who are making movies just need to know that all we need is very attractive people to watch fall in love.
Well,
That's-
I feel like this movie though speaks to like their identities as to why they would not go to the police and report it. Like that's a really
Well, that's true.
that's
Yes.
a pretty like intrinsic part to this film, which is like no one's gonna necessarily like they are not afforded the same level of presumptive innocence as white people would be, but at the same time, that's the only part of the movie that makes sort of like a big deal to sort of the it makes a big deal about them as an interracial couple.
Except for when, as you said, the cops drive past them slowly. I thought that was...
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
it does it all, like,
Yeah.
really seamlessly. And I think it's very successful at that.
yeah.
Which, like...
But no, I agree. I'm glad they put that in. All I'm saying is that as they go forward, if all of the producers of rom-coms are listening to us right now,
as they are every week.
Attractive people, I'm in. Right?
I mean, they are very attractive people.
But they're also hilarious. Like,
yes,
I find
they're
each
so
of them
funny.
separately, separately so very funny. Like, I'm prepared to watch Stuber at some point just because Kumail Nanjiani's in it.
Yes,
and it's like a movie I would never watch otherwise.
Me neither. Oh my God. But yeah, I think like Kumail's so great. And I think like Issa does such a good job playing sort of like the more... just like the more straight character. Like she doesn't quite have as like many sort of neuroses as like Leilani's got her stuff together a bit more than Gibran, but her deadpan is so perfect throughout the whole film. And there were several points I mean, like, obviously I've talked about the orgy stuff and just her casual, like, just, she throws in these comments that are almost under her breath. And, like, even just like, when they were in the store picking out their new outfits and she's wearing that, like, amazing unicorn, like.
Yeah, that's a wild find.
Even quickly throwing the hood, like, over her head as the cops go by was just, like, now no one can see you. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It made me laugh so hard.
But I have to say, there were some things didn't really work super well for me. And one of them was the elaborate kidnapping, tie-up, bacon grease. Like that,
that scene was not good.
It went on a little long.
It went on very long. And also, why... So you're in your shed, and you literally could just hold a gun to someone's head and say, "Tell me now or I'll shoot you." I don't get the choice between having a horse kick you or bacon grease.
Yeah, I also have some questions about, so I've never been to New Orleans, but is the city set up that you could have a horse in your fancy suburban McMansion area? Like, that seemed a little bit weird to me.
Like Southlands in Vancouver, maybe. I don't know how far it was.
I mean, like, all of that setup seemed needlessly... But maybe what happened is that there was an edit to the film, and we lost, like, maybe 15 minutes of sort of, like, a little bit more explanation as to why that was necessary. Because you're right, like, it's not really that necessarily. Like, they don't... Those two characters come back in the orgy, but that's it, and it's not really...
And who was she trying to get the photos for? That part, I didn't really get that. Like, if her husband already knows they were at the thing, they're trying to stop the publication of the photos of the both of them there?
I don't know.
I can't explain
I'm never
plot of this movie to you at all.
I'm never a fan of the Scooby-Doo exposition at the end, where, if only the cops paid me properly, I wouldn't have had to engage in this kind of activity. And, that kind of thing I always find like a bit, so. But that stood out for me because it was very odd. It was a very odd bacon grease horse. Like, they don't even go together. Like, why are they in a barn? Anyway, that stuff was odd.
Also, the horse, if you get kicked in the sternum by a horse,
you might die.
Chances are you're going to die.
Yeah, not just end up with a bruise. And what were you putting, Bactine on it? Like, what was going on there? Like, you're not going to put some lotion on a bruise that... You might have a lot of internal injuries.
A tremendous
I would imagine
amount.
so.
Like a shattered rib puncturing your lung, for one.
Yeah, that definitely seems like in another movie. Perhaps the one you guys want to see, the sad folks here,
Yes.
is
Yes.
that
He
the
dies in a
horse would have
horse accident.
knocked. Yes, and she holds him as he dies slowly and painfully, and she goes, "You know, it wasn't going to work out anyway. We're too different. So you're either here for a reason or a season, buddy, and I guess this is yours done." So, scene.
Amazing.
But so on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 65% from critics and 51% audience score.
Ooh.
And one of the people who was criticizing it, Anna Menta in Decider, was saying that watching it streaming might have hurt the movie because seeing a comedy in a theater with people laughing around you really, can change your experience of a movie. And a comedy like this one needs to be seen with lots of people. So like you're all laughing and all groaning at the same time.
That's probably fair. I've got used to laughing on my own though over the years. I watch a lot of Netflix comedies and stand-up comedies. Oh.
But do you, since we haven't been to movie theaters in a long time, do you miss the experience of watching a movie communally with people at all?
But I feel like that for horror movies more than comedies. I feel like I'm okay with comedies. I can laugh on my own, but I feel like the experience of going to a dark theater and watching a horror movie with a whole bunch of people, that I find much more suited to the theater experience, or like an action film. I don't actually think for a comedy I don't need it. Me personally, like I said, I watch a ton of stand-up and things.
So I don't really miss theaters that much in terms of communal watching. I've been watching with Carlos and with like our friends, and we've been hanging out on like FaceTime and Google Hangout and stuff, and being able to still watch movies in our homes. So I feel like I've had a bit of that communal experience. I understand what it means with like comedy, because a lot of people sort of that group laughter is this weird catharsis. I think in the same way, Lisa, like you said about like watching a horror film together, like maybe like that group fright and that group fear and that tension is like a catharsis too.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe that's something, but I'm good. Like I do want this movie to do well, but I feel like it could find its own life in Netflix as long as people just keep like discovering it ultimately and watching it and take a chance on it.
But do you think it would have been a bigger success if it had been released in theaters? In
all honesty, no, probably, because rom-coms do terrible in theaters for the most part.
Yeah.
Like
people... I think there was an argument a couple of years ago that rom-coms should just be for Netflix now. Because they just don't like with the exception of an action film, right? There's not really the reason people go to the theaters as much anymore is for like big splashy sequels. They don't really go for, unless they're like, art house movies or something. So I'm sure we had this conversation a few years ago because a lot of them were just coming straight to Netflix, and that seemed to make sense. And so I feel like you can watch one then and not have to have too high expectation. I think with, I didn't count how many times I laughed, like big laugh, small laugh, chuckle, haha, or that was nice. But, it was enough to make me feel satisfied that I watched it. Would I be really happy if I went to the theater? I don't know about that.
Yeah. What about you, AG?
Well, I mean, I look back on comedies or stand-up that I've seen in person, and it does make it a more enjoyable experience when the entire audience is laughing at the same thing, or, like the sort of the experience of people around you enjoying it or not disliking it or booing at the same time. I think that this movie could have benefited from a little bit of that. If people around you are having a good time and laughing, like you tend to be more jovial when watching a movie as well.
Fair.
Yeah. But I do miss that part of seeing movies in person. Like obviously everything's a lot more comfortable when you're at home because you don't have to adhere to a schedule. You're not like, packed in like sardines with other people, and you don't have to worry about, germs and stuff like that. But I do miss that communal experience.
I miss it other ways. I just, of course. And now I heard just today, I think, that someone was saying that the reason why it's going to take so much longer for concerts and, sporting events is because the shouting is what spreads it really fast.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that.
All of a sudden I went, duh, of course that makes a lot of sense, right? If you start yelling, all of that, your germs going out there, right? And I don't know if you want to do that much yelling in a mask. So, that was so upsetting, because that's one of the best things about being with a big group of people. There's the shouting and the screaming and and the sing-along, as we were saying, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, and actually, I'm a big laugher when I'm laughing out loud, so I would be spraying so many people if I wasn't wearing a mask.
yeah.
God.
I told Andrea Warner about this before, but we lived in outside Philadelphia for a while, and our sort of neighborhood movie Cineplex theater was equipped with these giant easy chairs. Like everybody had an easy chair that reclined, and it had a massive armrest that was like probably 2 feet wide on either side of you. So you're at least like 4 feet away from the other person. And you could, it was like your own private leather reclining chair. And that was just a regular ticket in every theater. And they also, this place had a Cinnabon counter, and it had a curry counter.
A curry and a Cinnabon.
Yeah.
Total dream scenario.
I'm there. Yeah, no kidding. Well, maybe they've been able to open then. Maybe
America doesn't do everything wrong.
No, they do hedonism well.
Cinnabon is actually, like, I don't understand why Cinnabon isn't in every theater, because it's the perfect theater food because it doesn't make any noise.
Oh, well, I would like to have some curried poutine too, if you could put that in.
But you need a tray to sort of cut the cinnamon bun on. Like we don't have tables at our chairs.
Oh, well, that's what the massive armrests are for.
Oh, there, see?
Oh, okay.
All covered.
Fair.
Yeah.
So the other, just like the last little thing I want to say is when Lilani says to Gibran, "What, did you think it was one of those men only doors?" I laughed for a good 3 minutes. It made me laugh so hard.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was a scripted line or if Issa just threw it in, but it was great.
Yeah, it was very funny. And I also liked the Mythbusters joke too. Oh yeah, that's right. They busted that one.
Yeah, that was good too.
I thought that was pretty perfect.
That was really perfect. So does this movie pop?
Oh, I'm gonna pop it. Yeah,
I think it pops.
I
Yeah,
think it pops too.
Have a good time. It was enjoyable. It was sweet. It was funny. Everyone looks really good. Which you don't have to in rom-coms, but
I'm deeply transparent about my kink, which is voyeurism of apparently group sex. But I feel like you've subtly been laying out your kink, which is watching hot people make out.
Yeah, that's a kink. That seems to me about one of the more ordinary. Like the most ordinary white bread thing I could possibly like.
No, I know. I just want to say we're all disclosing things here. That's all.
It basically, you just said to me, it sounds like I watch teen soaps or something.
I mean, I do, but that's fine.
I was reading this one reviewer that was saying that, like the movie is inoffensive, it's amusing, it's inconsequential, and it's totally forgettable. Like, I didn't even understand the plot in the first place.
It's a lot of people dead, though. That was graphically, but
in that sense, it's like this fun throwaway movie, which is exactly the kind of thing we need to watch right now to take our minds off all the grim things that are happening in the world.
100%.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Absolutely watch this.
Yeah, I think that it's a good antidote. If you are feeling blue right now, just click it on and you won't. And you know why you won't? Because they end up together at the end, you horrible people. Sorry.
Fair. We love to leave an episode on something we recommend. I want to recommend an article by Kathleen Newman-Bremang. And Kathleen used to be a producer at The Social, and now she is a writer at Refinery 29 Canada. she's been writing a lot of amazing pieces lately, but this one in particular, it's called "For Black Women in Media, a quote dream job is a myth." And it just is going through like her whole career, what she has gone through, and just placing herself within the context of very like white supremacist media that has existed in Canada for so long. So I highly recommend this article. I think it's great. It's obviously painful, but it's very beautifully written, and I think it's really necessary for everyone to read.
And it was in Refinery 29?
Yes.
Excellent. I shall link to it in the show notes.
Thank you kindly.
I will go next, and I will say I want to recommend, I know there's probably a lot of fans already out there for the podcast Las Culturistas with Bowen Yang and Matt Rogers. But recently, a couple of weeks ago, they put out their episode, The Top 200 Moments in Culture History. It was their 200th episode. I think it actually extends because that's a lot to get through. I haven't laughed so hard in a long time. And I wish that we could look at history in this way too. It's just like putting up Nadia Comaneci's routine next to the discovery of insulin. I think that, culture deserves to be treated that way. And this is a fantastic list. Like I said, my stomach was hurting. And I know, as I said, there's lots of people who really love that podcast already, but this one in particular, I really, really enjoyed.
Awesome.
Cool. I'm going to recommend that all the Studio Ghibli movies, well, not all of them, 20 of them are on Netflix.
Yes.
I want to do
Netflix Canada.
Kiki's Delivery Service. I want to do it like at Halloween for us.
It's such a great movie. But I mean, also just, talking about kind of movies we need to watch in these moments. Like Studio Ghibli, you can just put on any of their movies and it'll instantly soothe you, transport you to a different time and place. And yeah, they're just such beautiful stories, and the animation is so beautiful, and you really can't go wrong watching any of them. My personal favorites that are on there right now are From Up on Poppy Hill, Kiki's Delivery Service, and of course, My Neighbor Totoro.
Yay!
My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yes, yeah,
so good. All right, well, this has been great. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening, for hanging out with us, for making us part of your quarantine times. You can hang out with us on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. You could email us at popthiscollective@gmail.com. And you could, if you'd like to, rate and review us 5 stars.
I also just want to say a big thanks, Andrea Gin, again, for our double duty producing and co-hosting. And because you used to always say to us, I didn't watch it. I didn't watch that. And now...
now I have to watch it.
Now you have to watch it.
Burn on Andrea Gin. So good.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.